Hey, how's it going? Allison and Tone here. We wanted to talk a little bit about something that comes up because, it's especially dangerous right now because a lot of people are going up and down ladders and the ladders are wet and not wearing proper footwear, and then slips are really easy and that's not so good. And then with summer coming up, by the way, have you booked any exterior painting? I always say to people, make sure you have a look at your house every single spring so that you can see your house with fresh eyes, because we look at our house over and over again without really looking at our house. And so the number of people that say to me, oh my God, it was fine and now it's peeling. You don't want to get to the point where your house is peeling because you're dealing with failure situation, which sometimes compounds, and it's just really terrible. So put a reminder in your phone, in your calendar, however it is that you do like to have reminders, and every spring take a really good hard look at your whole exterior. Is the wood on your door kind of creeping up, that sort of thing? But I'm getting ahead of myself because we're not talking about exteriors today. Keep it in the back of your mind though, because it's important.
Hey, we're talking about ladders.
We're talking about ladders, right? Thank you, Tone. So we're talking about ladder, and so often we see people going up in the winter and then in the summer telling us about injuries that they've had in the winter because of the wet rungs. Or in the summer, we'll get phone calls, things like, my husband went up the ladder and he fell and now he's in a cast or got crutches, and so can you come and finish the job? Or it'll be like, well, we're getting too old. We don't want to go up the ladders anymore, which is smart because it's just outside of a house. It's not worth killing yourself over. So smart that you can kind of know what your limits are. And at a certain age, let me tell you, going up and down a ladder is just not fun. So we get the younger guys to do it, right? Yeah, right. He's actually 5. And so he only thinks he's 30. So really pay attention to that. And we are also, just so you know, there are lots of times that we've just painted like the high stuff on a house, and then homeowners do the lower stuff so that they don't have to risk the ladders. And some people really enjoy painting their house. I know I do. And so I get him now to do the high stuff and I do the low stuff because I'm getting to that age. So if you're going to use your own ladder, it is so, so important to know how to put up a ladder properly. Yeah. And we think, you just lean it up and you go up, no big deal. No, it's not really like that. Don't leave it to chance. Learn how to do it right. So Tone is going to tell you the proper way of putting up a ladder. Just this sort of short term, like you can get out a measuring tape and you can make sure all that stuff is fine and you can like really get all the dimensions. But there is like quite a simple way of knowing if your ladder's set up right.
Yeah. So first thing you want to make sure is that your ground is at an area where you are either going to be a flat surface or it's not slippery, because once you put the ladder up, you want your ground to be level so it doesn't tip one way or the other. So that's super important, is making sure your footing on the ground is really good, really secure, not
so what
super
are some
soft.
of the things that they would think about in terms of what makes ground safe, other than being flat? What makes ground safe?
Hard, dry, because especially with the weather that we have right now, it gets really wet and sloppy and soft. So you'll go on to a ladder, which you think is secure because it's flat, but then you go to step on it, one side might sink and one side might not. Yeah. So you really want to make sure that your ground is secure. So like when you're dealing with cement and all that stuff, it's great because it is nice and hard. But if you're in the dirt, you really want to make sure that your ladder is nice and secured before getting up, and it's not going to go side to side.
The one thing, though, about concrete or cement or pavement, any of that sort of stuff, concrete, cement, same thing. But when it's a flat surface and a hard surface, West Coast weather here means there's probably going to be a lot of slime, a lot of moss, mildew buildup on the ground. And even sometimes you can't see it. Sometimes you can see all that green. Do not go up the ladder if your ladder is sitting on green. Just don't do it. Get that cleaned up first. Power wash it up. Kill the moss, whatever you got to do. But that will slip. It's super, super slick.
That's one of the rules that we have in our company. If it doesn't feel safe, it's not. So get somebody to help you with it. Get somebody to either help you lift it up or stand at the bottom of the ladder so that it doesn't slide out from underneath you if you don't feel safe, because there's nothing wrong with asking for help. Mm-hmm. It's not, like Mom said earlier, it's not worth your life. It's just the outside of a house. So,
and I would still reiterate, if the ground is green, don't go up. With or without help, don't do it. Deal with the moss first.
Yeah, for sure. You always want to make sure that your area around you is safe. The other one good rule is you don't want your ladder to be too steep or too much of a slant. Like you want it to be a 4-to-1 ratio, roughly. Again, you can get.
What does that mean? 4-to-1 ratio.
So you want every 4 feet high, you want 1 foot out from the wall. One of the really good rules that I've been taught over the years is if you stand at the base of the ladder and you reach your arm straight out, if you're touching the sides of your ladder with your fingertips, you're at a good ratio. Again, you can pull out a tape measure. If you want to get really specific about it and do the exact measurements, cool, good on you. But those are just some quick ways that you can do a proper ladder. Because if it's too shallow and you're too steep, there's a good chance you might tip backwards. And if you're too much on a slope, there's a good chance it'll slide out from underneath you. Whether it's a good ground or you have somebody on the bottom of it, it doesn't really matter.
So toes to the bottom of your ladder, arms straight out, and if your fingertips are touching the side of the ladder, then it is safe. If you're like this, not safe. If you're like this, not safe. You want to be standing up straight, arms straight out. If you're touching it, that's a pretty good indication you've got that 4-to-1 ratio.
And if another tip, if you wanted to even more safety, you can also tie your ladder off.
Yeah.
Because then it stops it from going anywhere as well. Just an extra piece of safety. Ladders are so dangerous. There's so much that can happen on a ladder. Even from the bottom rung to the top rung, it doesn't really matter. There are serious issues that can come from being on ladders. So safety is very, very important. And it's not worth your life.
Yeah.
It's just a house or it's just a paycheck type idea, right? So
and keep in mind, we're talking about extension ladders. You know, the ladders that just go up on one side, not a step ladder where it's a V shape. Those are a little bit different when in terms of, because those can be like really sketchy on ground if it's not even ground, because it's like going to a restaurant and you've got that table that keeps tilting.
You
right?
stick the coasters underneath to keep it level.
Don't use coasters under your ladder. That's never a good thing to do.
Probably not good.
No, especially if it's wet, they're just going to go mush. So we're talking extension ladders here is what it is. But you'll also know, like, if you have a step ladder at home, the one that's like an A shape, you can stand on the feet and you can put your arms out and you'll see that's that right angle. It works the same on a step, right?
Yeah, absolutely it does.
Yeah. So bottom line, be safe. And if it doesn't feel safe, don't do it, because yes, you want to protect your investment, but you don't want to die doing it. And I say to my staff all the time, do not go home in a wheelchair. It is just not worth it. For the couple of minutes it takes to make sure you're being safe, I would like to see you take those couple of minutes and be safe.
Absolutely.
All right. So that's it. That's our friendly tip. And one of the other things too is if you have any, like, we're really wanting to showcase businesses that we love. So if you have a business that you love, just reach out to us and tell us what it is. And we'd be happy to do a little quick Facebook Live, or maybe we can do one of these and we can bring you in on it and you can tell us why you love the company that you're wanting to refer to us. So definitely, if you got some love to share, we would love to help you share it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right. So that's it. Tone and Allison, Sunshine Girls Painting. Open up your house. No, hang on. Let me try that again. Open up your house.
And let the sunshine in.
There you go. Have a great night, everyone.